Good morning, group. So welcome to 31st session of SAP ABAP. Today, we have completed the common prerequisites, then started the SAP R3 architecture, but architecture introduced first client server, then small screen application, next R1, R2, R3 comparison, next R3 presentation details, application detail, and a database.
From mute, sir.
No, can you hear me or not? No, I'm speaking over phone only because I can hear you. Can you hear me or not? Hello? Can you hear me? Because one. Yeah, can you hear me now? Hello? Yes, Durga Prasad, can you hear me? Aishwarya, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Oh, thanks. So check it out from yourself, your side. Okay, thanks. Like we are into so the client server and R3, R1, R2, R3. Multi-tier architecture. Then we are discussing in detail, in depth of each and everything. So if anyone want to attend the sessions daily morning 8 to 9 and 9 to 10 two sessions, you can join here using this Google Meet link. Absolutely free, I said. And moreover, you can interact at the end only. So that the flow cannot be interrupted. I'll give you time for the question answers, no problem. Or else you can join in our group also, you can post the questions here, and or else mail all of your questions. There are different ways to interact. And moreover, because now onwards definitely expecting so questions will arise because we are going in detail depth of each and every topic. So you have to be more actively involved, I am expecting, because okay, and try to be join by 7:55, not by 8:05. Okay, you have to be ready by 7:55. Yes, because so that without interruption we can start the session. It's not like someone want to join at different timings. No, that is again a kind of, as much as possible we have to minimize the distraction. Then only the flow, we can discuss the subject. Only focus must be on subject only. So then okay, why I'm revising every day from the beginning topic to till day is because this is the way you have to revise and remember the subject. Otherwise, without revision, you cannot retain this much heavy syllabus, and otherwise you will get confused also. Okay, and yesterday I posted 3 4 videos also. You have to manage and you have to like go through all the things, any missing syllabus, anything is there, You can refer it so that streamline the things. Today also I'll try to post another four to five videos so that we are in sync. Now onwards, I'll try to post on the same day itself. Okay, I'll try to upload on the same day so that there is no distraction. So now anyone can join this time. You can listen directly also because I'm giving such freedom directly. I'm recording the session as usual in a live manner. Okay. Yes. Next. So we have already started the topic. So what you have to do is each line, each statement, try to understand. If anywhere anything explanation missing, sometimes in the flow because I have to manage many things, right? So at that time you can ask. First, you can write it down in this. You can write your question at this Google Meet chat also, or you can raise the hand, or else at the last you can unmute and ask. This is the I can explain to you. No worries. Okay, everything. If some explanation you might not able to catch at the initial level, first level, because see, and moreover, if you have to what you need to do. If I draw something picture, you have to draw the picture. So most of my explanation is picture based explanation because generally we remember pictures more. The human brain remembers pictures more rather than the text. That's why picture through, and moreover, the way I draw the picture and the arrows and all, you have to draw the similar kind of okay as it is. Like if you go back and moreover, you have to notice that few things I missed something in the initial level in the flow. Second day revision through, I'm coming back and I'm going to discuss those topics. Let's suppose I actually, when I revise the things, we will come to know. Suppose after ABAP, there are so many courses are there. One of the course is there is a one more technical stuff is called as BRF plus Business Rules Framework. That is also ABAP extension course. And one more thing which I thought of to discuss is this SAP. Second, because 1 minute. So, so tomorrow onwards, okay, tomorrow onwards, everyone try to join by 7:55 or 7:58. You have to be ready so that we will. I'll activate. I'll allow everyone so that you can minimize the distraction. Coming back to here, yes, because something I missed at this particular C versus ABAP. This was the difference. If you go to, yes, data structures. Actually, data structures we have, okay, stacks and queues and views, queues, views, trees, graphics, extra. That is, there are two types of things. That is linear, non-linear. Okay, linear approach. Non-linear is this views, trees, graphs. It's not a graphics, it's a graphs. Okay. Yes. So stack versus queue. Stack is always LIFO, LIFO, last in first out. Queue is nothing but FIFO, FIFO. Okay. This is about in C language we learned everything. So yesterday I introduced the dispatcher queue. If you come here, dispatcher queue is also queue. Queue always in a first in, first out model. First request, first priority, second request, second priority. This way. So, okay, right. And one more missing thing. Suppose if you go to the R1 scenario, R1 example is your personal Okay, laptop or desktop. What is the R2 example? Because in the flow I forgot. Example of R2 is kind of mainframe environment. In a mainframe, like you can find the two-tier environment. In R3 example is the live company environment. Yes. Okay. The large size company environment. We are working on this. Yes. And moreover, actually initially web-based application was not supported. This was the limitation initially. Later on, they also come up with web-based operations also. That is called as entire architecture. So there are another limitations. It supports only 42 languages, but there are many plenty languages are there in the. So some type of limitations are there with respect to R3, but they are trying to enhance it also. Yes, just like earlier, Hindi was not there. Hindi added recently. So this is about the differences of where you have to connect. R1 is for personal laptop. This is the example. R2 is for mainframe environment, and R3 and entire is for large size company point of view. Okay, right. Next, if you look at like the missing pending part. Okay, first, what exactly the presentation? So presentation is used as a like it is used to access the SAP. There are different ways it is available. Almost all the details are explained here. Yes. Next, database. Database I explained, and database repository concept I introduced. What is a repository table? TADER table. Yes, which holds all repository objects information. What is a repository object? And object features also I introduced. Repository objects in ABAP, in SAP, we daily work with repository object. So, technically speaking, these objects are classified as two types, built-in and custom. So, built-in which comes with SAP software inbuilt. Okay, we can directly use them. Because I forgot one more thing to introduce. All built-in objects, all built-in objects status. Built-in objects, built-in objects status is active. Yes, built-in object status is active. But whereas if you come to here, the custom objects, custom means customer defined objects. Object status is status wise comparison. When you create a new table or new program, first initially it is at a new status. Then after that it comes to inactive status. It convert to inactive status. Then inactive to sometimes in the data dictionary point of it is partly active status also in between. Then finally it is going to be full active. So this is okay. Suppose you are creating a structure or view or database table or domain. Yes, this sequential status it will turn. Initially, it is when you open, it is inactive. Then sometimes it is partly active. Okay, first it will begin with new to it will convert, and at any point of time you have to make it as active. Okay, that activation result it will become active. Yes. So as a developer, as a consultant, a web technical consultant, you are responsible to make all objects your development should be. Suppose you developed 100 objects, 200 objects. Finally, everything should be active status only. Then only active object only can be tested, and active object only can be released. Released object only can be transported. Okay. Suppose built-in or predefined or SAP defined objects are by default it is active only. You cannot make it as back to inactive or new status, because who developed this? SAP developed. Developed by SAP. SAP means what? SAP developers are there. SAP developers, core developers, they developed this. They created save check activated. So they have released with active status. Everything, all built-in objects, lakhs of objects is given to us with active status only. Okay, that's all. So this is one more comparison. Object repository, object name wise, naming convention or nomenclature wise, and as well as mode, display mode or change mode. In fact, we have, if it is a custom object, first we go with, first we have to open create mode, then next change mode and display mode. There are three different modes. First step is create. Create is also a mode. Create mode, change mode, display mode. All the three types of modes you can find it going forward. Yes. So next, okay, language. This one, the timestamp and as well as status comparison also, right? This is what the explanation of repository underlying database is also completed. And one more thing, if you might not catch certain things, suppose it is too depth, but still, if you keep on revising, or else I will revise the topic daily, I'll connect and come back. By that time, you will get more familiarity. Okay, yes. Go back. Next, application. So this application layer, in fact, application layer is very, very important, because this is the what we called as data process area, data process zone. Because see, presentation is only for accessing purpose, and underlying layer is only for storage purpose. But in between, middle layer is there to communicate both. Okay, presentation to database, this one. So application layer, it is right, is also called as hmm, is also called as basis, or basis means it's also called as kernel. Okay, what is the meaning of kernel? Kernel is a word you come across in Unix environment at OS level, but here also we are using this, because in Unicode we are calling this as a, yes, Unicode pointer. There is a terminology differs. Okay, this middle layer is also called as kernel. Right. Next. So this kernel, we can discuss in it two dimensions: development environment and as well as runtime environment. So if you go to the development environment point of view, yes, it is okay. It is a collection of. It is, yes, integrated with. Actually, this is the correct word. Integrated with many development tools. Development tools, and yes, this is next. It is a collection of many development. Almost all development tools are integrated closely here. Yes, closely integrated, all these tools. So each tool, yes, what is the meaning again? Yesterday I told you so many things. Each tool, yes, identified by unique name, unique purpose, or functionality, unique functionality. Okay, so dictionary purpose separate, editor separate, function builder separate, package builder separate. So all these things we will study in the going forward. Sometimes we are calling as builder, editor. dictionary, painter, see the words. Okay. Yes. Next, we go for yes application only where we stopped yesterday. We are into because I'm revising. This is the way you have to revise because 24 hours you were disconnected. So once we revise, it comes into memory again. Like if you look at here, the workbench concept is over. We will also discuss the workbench daily. Right side applications. Applications are many to balance the load or traffic. So we have discussed one application server component as dispatcher, dispatcher queue, work process, context area, and role area. Yes, two things. Because this work process assigned with two memory areas, context, user context is nothing but user credentials. User is authorized or not. So user authorized, then role area allocating memory, that is roll in after completion of the task, roll out, deallocation of the memory. Okay, allocated memory gets rolled back, roll in, roll out. Yes. Okay, this is the activity of application server components. Then go to the work process. So there are several work processes are there. We have to discuss this list also today. Work process. So simply to process the work, it perform the task or work are assigned. First, okay, where we stopped is yesterday's complete point to point. I explained, you note down and try to understand the explanation. So first of all, the task handler receives the assigned task by the dispatch. Where dispatcher issues the task, dispatcher issues the task from presentation server. So dispatcher maintains all the tasks in a queue and it is assigning task to the free work process. Work process task handler receives and it work process inside you will find four components: screen processor, ABAP processor, database interface. So screen processor is also called as screen interpreter. It is responsible to execute the flow logic editor code. So you may get a doubt, what is flow logic editor? Flow logic editor is a special editor, is a special editor, okay, which is available behind screens, particularly dialog screens. Okay, so we have screen is design and screen backend code. The push buttons or command buttons behind code we have to write. So that logic we will write it in a special editor called as flow logic editor. That flow logic editor code is executed by this screen processor. If you go to the normal ABAP editor, okay, ABAP editor code is executed by ABAP processor. Now we have two things: database interface. Database interface is this. So it converts OpenSQL statements to native and also it performs the insert update statement all the operations also. Yesterday's last topic was that. What exactly the difference between OpenSQL versus native SQL? Suppose first let us discuss OpenSQL concept. So OpenSQL statements are actually it is a ABAP specific SQL. Okay, it is ABAP specific SQL. Yes. Specific SQL commands. But native SQL statements are database specific commands. Database specific commands. So I said, what is SQL? Structured query language. Any database understand, suppose you understand English and Hindi or Telugu, I can talk on any three language. But which language database understand is only SQL. But SQL instructions or commands or SQL statements, the syntaxes vary from database to database. Okay, that is whatever the syntax of SQL server syntax is called as SQL server specific. That is native to that SQL server. Sybase is also native to that. Oracle specific commands, HANA specific commands. So, but since SAP supports several multiple databases, but which command to write at ABAP editor is the question. That is the reason. Okay, that is the reason what we will do. What we have to do is, okay, like we will go with open concept. So SAP introduced open concept. What is the open? Open means I am not at all worried about what is the database is. But in ABAP, we always go with open SQL commands. ABAP specific SQL, it is a subset of standard SQL. Subset means if you understand the normal SQL commands, this is as if it is very easy to understand, easy to adapt. So these open SQL statements are regardless of the database. It could be any database, but we write always in ABAP editor this. Okay, this open SQL commands we can write it directly in the ABAP editor, right? But OpenSQL statements are converted by database interface, into respective database. What is the meaning of? Okay, what is this meaning is, suppose if I go back, like this is a work process, means runtime environment, but right left side here you have one is flow logic editor, second is ABAP editor. Two types of editors are there in the workbench. So that is, this is screen flow logic editor. Okay, flow logic editor. This is one thing. Then this is your ABAP editor. ABAP editors. Two you can just connect with. Left side is workbench tools editors. Right side is this. So here, because I just deviated for me you to make you to understand is this too. Like there are two things are there. One is screen interpreter or screen processor. So screen processor, and as well as this is your ABAP processor, right? So whatever the ABAP editor code, this entire ABAP editor code, left side in the workbench you type it. When you go for save, check for syntax check. At that time, your syntax check is carried out by using ABAP processor or ABAP interpreter. It checks the code line by line. So development code executed by the right side, what is there? Application, under application work process inside ABAP processor or ABAP interpreter is responsible, right? If you go to the flow logic editor, suppose this flow logic editor code is it is a special editor. It is executed by screen processor or screen interpreter. This is the way you have. But this is clear as of now. But we go for in the flow logic editor or ABAP editor, you can write certain commands. What are the commands? Let's take, you can go for normally insert, update. Okay. Suppose you write a insert statement or update or select query or delete something like that, suppose. Even here also. So the flow logic, same thing. If these instructions are there, how it will gets executed? Insert, update, delete. Okay, delete or select. Then generally four. So all these commands actually executed by DB interface. Okay, yes, this is connected with your DB interface. Okay, you have to understand this way. The flow logic editor SQL commands, ABAP editor SQL commands. This is connected with DB interface. What happens? This database interface interface, establish connection to it connects to the underlying database, and it will, if it is insert, it will write to the new record to the database. If it is update, it will update to the database. If it is fetch, select, it will fetch the record and display. If it is delete also, it does the delete operation. Clear? So database interface on it is interface. As the name suggests, it is interface to the DB, underlying DB. Okay, this is the way application server concerned work process talks to the underlying database. Right. Now the question is, this insert update commands you have written in OpenSQL commands. But this database interface checks that the current system is running on database SQL server. Database interface converts your OpenSQL to the SQL server specific. Yes, as a developer, as a ABAP consultant, you no need to worry or bother about the which database the current system is running. No need to write. You always go with open. It is the name itself is open. You write OpenSQL command, but the conversion done by the DB interface. DB interface. If the database is Sybase, it converts to Sybase specific. If the database is Oracle, it converts to Oracle specific. Okay. If it is HANA, HANA specific. So this is what about the OpenSQL concept. And there is a one buffer is there. The result of the select query is loaded into buffer also. That is about your OpenSQL statements processed via buffer. Right. So with that, most commonly used 80-90% we work with OpenSQL. Okay. Most frequently used, commonly used this one. But the other side, native. So native SQL is exactly opposite to the OpenSQL statements. What happens? Sometimes in ABAP editor or flow logic editor, okay, ABAP editor, flow logic editor, you don't want to write OpenSQL commands. You can write native SQL commands also. ABAP editor or flow logic editor supposed to write the native SQL commands. But the rule is native SQL commands cannot be written directly. It should be written between exec SQL and end exec between you have to write it. This is the way. So if you write directly the native SQL statements here, what will happen? It is already native. Native means if you want to write native SQL statements, you have to know. Suppose you have to know first the name of the database first. You are the ABAPer and you have to know the name of the database, SQL server. So you have to write SQL server commands only in the ABAP editor between exec and end exec. In the database Sybase specific commands you can write between exec and end exec. If it is Oracle, you can write Oracle specific commands. This is called as native. Native means I don't want to use open. Against that, native commands also can be written in both editors. Okay, this is what the so since it is already native, the conversion is not required. That's why native SQL statement hit the database directly. It is not converted by the database interface, and the result also it does not load it into buffer. And the native SQL statements are DB specific commands, which are very rarely used commands. Okay, this is the difference between open versus right. Okay, you have to know the connectivity this way. Okay, yes. DB interface through you can write connection. So right. So database specific commands and database dependent commands. Bypass result is bypassed into buffer. It is not processed to the buffer, not converted by the database interface. It is rarely used DB specific. So this is the introduction. Going forward, we have in detail discussion on open and native commands. Okay. So with that, our what is completed? Work process components are completed. So all are interview questions. We explain R3 architecture, or else explain what are the application server components, work process components, etc. Coming to the next level. What is next? Work process types. How many types of work processes are there in this? So there are total 5 types of work processes are there. Yes, 5 types of work process. Yes. Node. So work process supported by AS ABAP. AS is nothing but application server. Hmm, Application server ABAP. Right. Now we are discussing everything in AS application server ABAP point of view. There is a AS Java is there. On contrary, we have a application server Java. So that we will discuss after a few minutes. First, there are 5 types of work process. That is dialogue work process. So simply dialogue WP work process. Dialogue work process is responsible, hmm, responsible to handle user actions. All user, that is all user means all type of user actions, all kind of user actions on dialog screen. Dialog screen. So dialog screens are mainly 80% SAP screens are dialog screens only, which are used by functional consultant and users also. So these screens are mainly used for transactions capturing purpose. So user can perform different types of activities. So that's why what we have to do, this dialogue work process is responsible to, yes, let's take this example, because I just for a moment I will give, like in SAP we want to create a sales order. Sales order cannot be created in a single screen. So first, this is first screen, in a first screen, this is second screen, this is third screen, like. So first of all, user sales order, user decided to go for sales order. First, what happened? User access the first screen or initial screen. There is a in between one concept called as T code. That T code concept I'll introduce later. There is separate sales order T code, separate purchase order T code is separate. So T code to user, it comes, he or she comes to the first screen, initial screen. Initial screen is again connected with next screen. Next screen is there, next screen is there, and the next screen is. So the sales order is that activity cannot be done by a single screen. So the first screen is calling next screen to next screen. Finally, you can reach to that. And the final screen, we will go for click on save button. So this is your save button. Yes. At that time, what will happen? What will happen? All the entire this complete 3 screens information. So the 3 screens information is updating to the DB at what time? When this is going to update, it is going to update at the final step. At the final step. That means you have to understand this way. It won't, first screen user enters, it won't update to the database. Second screen also it won't update to the database. Okay, this is the DB database. So these are all front-end screens. So what is our dialog work process does? Because this is dialog screen 1, dialog screen 2, dialog screen 3. User or consultant started interacting. So first screen user entered some values, input values. It temporarily stores, holds the data. Then next press enter. Second screen enters the value, it holds the data. Third screen, user entered the value. It holds the data. So three screen values are stored temporarily only. When user explicitly click on save button on final screen, at that time what happened? Three screens information is updating to the backend database tables. Okay, upon updating to the database tables, upon updating means upon successfully writing to the respective tables, okay, then the confirmation, you will get a message as record created successfully or sales order created successfully or sales order so and so number created. This success message, status message, you will get it. So this is called as one end-to-end activity. So you can see front end to back end activity. I explained to sales order, you can consider purchase order, production order, anything. SAP works on this flow, again keep on telling you. So now front end could be n number of screens, but back end it could update a single table or multiple table, it will update. Okay, that depends on the which type of data you are entering here. Okay, clear? So now you have to understand front end is a collection of screens, back end is a collection of tables. Okay, screen stores the data temporarily, table stores the data permanently. It can be any module screen, any module tables also. Right. Here three work processes are responsible. First, dialog work process does what? Save. It will write to the database. Tomorrow, a user want to edit, bring back the data again. Yesterday created sales order, today you want to edit. Or 1 hour back I created, now you want to edit. No problem. You can want to edit. Again, the same rule. User cannot edit direct table level. You have to bring the data back to the front end and edit and save. At that time, it will overwrite. So this way, read-write operations on the database tables, you can do it. This is about your dialog work process is responsible for that. Right. Then, okay, because in SAP, dialog equals to screen. That is the meaning. Then update. Just now I explained to you update work process. Update work processes is what is it? It's responsible to update user entered screen input values. Okay, to update screen and user entered input values to underlying database. That means respective database tables. Yes, this is the way you can catch. So that is update work process is responsible. Just now I explained the updation happens at the final step. There are some concepts are there, LUW concepts, logical unit of work. So what is that? Some amount of work done on screen 1, screen 2, screen 3. Finally, what happened? At final step only, yes, this will happen. Suppose that is called as a commit work. Commit is nothing but permanently updating to the database. That is commit. Suppose there is a rollback also. So by mistake, you forgot to enter the save or some system restarted or power interrupt. Something happens. What happens? Your data is not written to the database. Your effort gone. Again, all the screens remember temporarily I said. What next? You have to come back again from the beginning screen to you enter the data, enter the data, enter the data. Okay. So we have to, when we click on save button, at that time only explicit update happens to the database. Otherwise, only implicit save. When you click on save button, explicit save happens. Okay, that means at the last and final step only, the screen entire all three screens data is writing to the database. Okay, do not misunderstand that First screen data immediately it won't write to the database. Second screen it won't write to the database. This is the SAP concept is designed. At final step only the update take place. Just for sample example point of view, I have written as 3 screens. It could be 4 screen, 5 screen, it go with 6, 7 screens, or it could be 2 screens also. That depends on the what kind of transaction we are working in a SAP. This is about your one concept. Coming back to the so two work processes are there: dialogue completed and as well as update completed. There is a one more concept called as NQ. ENQUEUE. Work process, the NQ work process is responsible. Yes, is responsible. That is each work process name different, purpose functionality different. Is responsible to handle the locks. Lock. That is what is that to avoid inconsistency. What is the meaning of that is suppose what exactly is lock handling, LOCK lock. Why locks are required? Because one, assume that some sales order. Sales order, one user is editing here. At the time, other users cannot edit. Only one user can edit one sales order at a time, that particular sales order. Because when user is editing, other users try to edit, suppose. Then for them, it should display that the record so-and-so sales order is currently being edited by so-and-so username will get it. How that actually this process happens is that is because of the lock concept. When somebody opened in change mode, editable mode, there is a implicit locks happens. That lock is handled by this NQ workers. Once he comes, he changes as long as he's editing, that it locks the record automatically. Once your changes over, then save, updation happens, the lock gets removed. Now it is open. Other users can open change mode and continue for changing. So this is a kind of lock concept. Okay, so locks are required to edit the record by single user at a time. One user at a time. Suppose this user open that record in display mode, suppose, or second user try to open in display mode. N number of users can open the record in display mode, no problem. Display is allowed. Going back to the next, that is about your 3 work process. Next, last one, we have spool work process. Spool is a term applicable to is responsible for it is responsible for output. So the what is the meaning of output? Output in it could be a email output, it could be a fax output, it could be a workflow through sending attachment mails also, or else it could be a print hard copy, print also, or it could be a ALE, EDA through you are sending. These are all there is a one concept called as output determination. So the output SAP point of view, what is the meaning of output means? Like sending SAP data to outside. So it could be a printer hard copy format, or you can send it to the other user, or you can send it to the other system itself. Non-SAP system or other system can be SAP or non-SAP systems. So all these activities are handled by spool work process. This is related to our what is that? Script form, smart form, Adobe forms are handled by spool work process. So we'll study this later. By end of this course, all work process, I will closely introduce which top. Then go to the background work process. Background work process is responsible to handle background jobs or back jobs. So what is the meaning of foreground versus background? Okay, yes. Background jobs are, so first let's discuss foreground. Foreground is nothing but your presence required, your interaction required, everything. So you can see the result immediately. That is called as foreground activity. It is your, uh, we can see end to end. But some transactions, okay, can be scheduled as a back jobs where your presence not required. Example, every month end, we have to process the salary to the employees, isn't it? That in that case, if you start manually processing, some will get salary on 31st, some will get salary on 1st and 2nd, because there are thousands of employees. That's why that is foreground manual way of handling is not recommended. Will scheduled as a background jobs in SAP HR. It will pick up automatically the data and accordingly it will process to the bank to the users, employees also automatically. Everything is scheduled as a back job. Even back jobs advantage is that our presence not required, our interaction not required. All the activity happens without user intervention, without user or consultant. No interaction required here. That is called as back jobs. Back jobs are jobs could be everyday jobs, alternative day, weekly ones, fortnight ones, monthly ones. That depends. Different. In SAP, background jobs are there not only in SAP, everywhere. It's a common concept. So now each module wise back jobs are scheduled. Okay, depends on the requirement. So the jobs are handled by background work process. Okay, you can only schedule the job, and when the time, date, and time arrives, it automatically carried out the, okay, task. And finally, what will happen? Just 1 minute. So automatically, when the date and time arrives, system pick up the data and it perform the activity automatically. So that is the concept of background job. But all these topics, just it is an initial discussion. Okay, but we will study in detail of all those work process and their details also. Okay, hope you guys understand this all type of 5 work process concepts, right? So now with this we have completed one type of, because we have to go in depth of presentation over database over in application. I started with workbench and as well as one application server detail, work process detail, and different types of work process detail. Let us finally, I will discuss a consolidated discussion. Let us say that user one, because the initiation comes from the presentation only. User one want to work with SAP. He started system and presentation server. Okay, I said each user's level, this presentation servers are installed as a part of post installation. I said so. This user presentation server through he will log in first. Log in through he will connect to the application server. Okay, just by logging he'll enter 4 credentials, that is client number, username, password, and login language. Yes, for credential, that is our next topic, login concept. So after successfully logged in, you are connecting from presentation to application. If something is wrong, means your client number wrong, your username wrong, your password is wrong, you are rejected. You are rejected means you are not allowed to even connect to the application itself. This is the advantage of this design. That means you have to be first valid user, authorized users. Okay, because where your system should have this presentation server and it should be configured to the respective application. Okay, this is the prerequisite. That is, so if you have the system, but it doesn't mean that you can access SCP. No, again it will ask the valid client number, username, and password. These three. If you enter these all the three set of things called as credentials, login credentials. If your credentials are correct, consistent, then only you are connected to the application server. Application server, right? So now, if you want me to write it here, however, we will discuss that. First, you have to enter client number, then username slash and password, username and password. Then language is optional, of course. Logon language is optional, but this all the three details are must and mandatory. All the three, right? If these things are validated also. Validated means your entered client number is correct, username is correct, password. So this is common for all the four users, everyone. You may be a consultant or you may be user. If you want to access, you have to have. So who will create client and user names and all? Basis consultants will create. So that's why authorized consultants, authorized users only can access SAP. This is the way the design says that you are restricting unauthorized access. Unauthorized users, they cannot enter it here. Once you are out of this project, you are a consultant, your credentials are removed. Suppose you left the company as a user, then your credentials are blocked. Your credentials are removed from the system. The next moment onwards, you try to access it. No, you are out, you are rejected. This is the way. Okay, this R3 architecture supports what? Data safety and data security. Because data is there at the one end, user sits at the another end. So, got it? Only authorized users can access and mostly data secure also. Second, we'll come to the application. Suppose you assume that we entered login everything successfully. Application level, you requested for one purpose. So the dispatcher accepted and all requests it is maintained in a queue. It could be multiple requests also it maintained. It never reject any request. That's the concept of load handling, traffic handling. It is maintained in a queue, and what happens? It will assign the task to the free work process. It checks the activity is print related. It will assign to the spool work process. If the task is related to the back jobs, it will assign to the background work process. If it is dialogue screen related, dialogue work process it will assign. If it is update related, it will update to the it will assign to the update work process. And moreover, yes, the number of work processes, how many work processes are there? Yes, okay, number of in any installation and setup. Okay, yes, all work processes work processes are mandatory. Mandatory means compulsory, because this is again in general. In general, they will keep many dialogue work processes. Many dialogue work process and many update work process they will keep. Many update and yes, few NQ locks also they will keep it. Because yes, spool also, okay, NQ work processes, and moreover, yes, at least one or two spool, okay, one or two spool and background work process they will keep it. Who will decide? These are all basis actually done by the basis consultants. Basis consultants they will decide. In if your company is more on the background jobs are more, they'll increase the background work process. Pools are more, but in general, all are mandatory, but the number, if, because based on this only, our speeding up the activities are there. So now, okay, clear? Yes, this is about, someone asked question, anything? Yes, what is your question? Right. Okay, thanks.